Welcome to @Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Let's get a refresh on the top Arizona news of the week.
We recycle trash, so why not bikes? A new shop in Mesa teaches cyclists of all ages how to repair, maintain, and recycle bicycles. Reporter Emily Richardson gives us a spin around the new location.
He's been helping me with my bike, and he's been telling me what to do, and I've been doing it. It helped me learn how to fix bikes.
And that's one of the goals of WeCycle.
WeCycle is a community bike shop, nonprofit, recycling bicycles for kids and adults in need.
Founder Robert Chacon started this organization while working in vocational rehabilitation. He saw that the people he helped get jobs had transportation issues. He began fixing bikes out of his garage to give to them. When his garage couldn't fit any cars because of how many bikes he had, he decided to open this shop.
It's more than just a bike shop. We don't sell bikes. We don't have bikes, with parts and all this stuff like a bike shop. We're just open to the public so they can come in and work on their bikes. So it's a good thing to teach people how to fix their own bicycles.
And Chacon wants them to learn how at a young age.
We try to teach the kids responsibility. We try to teach them recycling. We try to teach them that bicycles are a viable form of transportation.
Leonel Puga came in with his brother. They had their eyes on two bikes that needed some work.
I saw a bike, and I really liked it.
All the Puga boys needed to do was put in the work to get them road ready.
My favorite part is really just teaching the kids.
And for adults in need of wheels, all it takes is 8 hours of volunteering. Chacon is motivated to help anyone who has a desire to ride, no matter what age.
I had a 90-year-old grandmother come in to get her great-grandkids bikes, but she had never ridden a bike before. She had never owned a bike or ridden a bike. And I fixed her a bike, and I taught her how to ride a bike.
In Mesa, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
If you would like to donate to WeCycle or would like to learn how to work on your bike, the shop is located on Main Street in Mesa.
It's been a little over 2 weeks since the shooting in Las Vegas, and the debate on gun control continues to build. Cronkite News reporter Kevin Gessner spoke with people on both sides of the argument.
Arizona ranks 14th in the country in gun-related deaths per year and ranks 40% higher than the national average. It also costs Arizona $1.9 billion every single year to deal with gun violence, from treating injuries to treating gun-related cases and incarcerating criminals.
And what gun violence really is in the United States is that 321 Americans are shot every single day in this country. Approximately 90 die, and the rest are wounded and survive their injuries.
It's these type of statistics that push Jerry Hills from Arizonans for Gun Safety to support universal background checks. But gun law attorney Trent Woods says we have to keep in mind that law-abiding firearm owners have rights too.
There are 30,000 deaths. Most of those, universal background checks, the vast majority wouldn't help. So what are we doing? All we're doing is burdening law-abiding citizens and increasing costs and increasing hassle.
In 2015, almost 1,000 people in Arizona died from firearm-related deaths. This includes about 60 suicides and less than 400 homicides.
The simple reality is people do kill people. Guns are a tool, and guns can be used to kill people, but they don't do it by themselves.
That's exactly why we want to put laws in place that regulate people.
And Americans may be leaning more toward those regulations. A recent Gallup poll shows 60% of Americans want stricter gun control, the highest level of agreement since 1990.
We want to insist that people are required to go through training. We want to insist that people who don't store their firearms responsibly and little kids get a hold of themselves are held responsible for their irresponsible gun ownership.
The problem lies, and that's where we need to regulate or control and do a better job.
Since the Las Vegas attack, there have been 16 bills proposed in Congress on both sides of the aisle for some type of gun control. These bills have been introduced to Congress but have not been sent to committee. Kevin Gessner, Cronkite News.
Controversial conservative leader Steve Bannon helped kick off Kelly Ward's 2018 Senate campaign against Senator Jeff Flake. Reporter Emily Richardson was at the Ward rally in Scottsdale.
No, I'm ready to get to Washington and serve us all. If we want a different outcome from Washington, D.C., we have got to send different people there.
While Kelly Ward used some familiar campaign slogans to launch her Senate bid against incumbent Jeff Flake, Some even more familiar faces from the national spotlight were there to rally the crowd.
It's not Donald Trump and Kelly Ward that are trying to shut up. It's you that are trying to shut up.
Donald Trump, with the help of Kelly Ward, will be able to have those legislative victories that are key for advancing the America First agenda.
Both say Arizona can be the flashpoint for political revolution.
And the people of Arizona, the people in this room, if you get out there, if you're the grassroots, and I've talked to it, we're building a grassroots army. It's going to be their money versus your muscle.
It's a simple question. Do you trust the people, or do you trust far-flung bureaucracies?
In the crowd, lifelong Republican Helene Gross said she appreciates Bannon's support.
Oh, Steve was wonderful. He's right on point every time. And it's amazing what he's going to be doing.
At the event, Ward also addressed veteran issues, immigration, tax reform, and health care. But the support of President Trump, as well as Trump's biggest supporters, carried the night.
It's time to melt the snowflake.
In Scottsdale, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
New brain injury technology could save you a trip to the emergency room. Cronkite News reporter Tatum Hubble visited an urgent care center to find out how this device is being used.
BrainScope One is a non-invasive new technology that assesses traumatic brain injury. One athlete says the device could be especially useful in sports that carry the risk of head injuries.
This new technology would definitely be a lot more helpful for us, being able to get in and get seen quicker with the urgent care physicians, lowering costs. A lot of MMA fighters that are just starting out don't really have the money to put in for a CAT scan and stuff. So a lot of these injuries go untreated.
Mixed martial arts and boxing are sports that require little to no protective headgear.
Traumatic brain injury contributes to a substantial amount of deaths and disabilities each year. Contact sports increase that risk even more.
The device is attached to the patient's head and scans for potential brain bleeds or concussions in under an hour and can lead to earlier treatment.
BrainScope One is basically a device that assesses patients that have come in with any type of head trauma. And it really looks at the severity of a potential traumatic brain injury that they've had.
A Banner spokesman said the device saves time and money because patients don't have to go to the emergency room. In Phoenix, Tatum Hubble, Cronkite News.
BrainScope One was developed with grant money from the NFL and in collaboration with the U.S. Department of Defense. And it's available at select Banner urgent care centers.
Lake Powell is infested with invasive mussels that can ruin boats and damage the Glen Canyon recreation area. Officials are taking the 10-year battle against quagga mussels to a new level. Reporter Erika Arrington traveled to Lake Powell to see the impact these mussels are having on the ecosystem there.
Officials who oversee Lake Powell have been fighting for a decade to keep quagga mussels from invading this tourism destination, but they lost the battle.
We were doomed from that November in 2012.
In 2012, the first quagga mussel was discovered here at Lake Powell. Today, the quagga mussels have invaded every canyon of the lake.
Now, the war is to keep the mussels from spreading outside of Lake Powell. Some have already been spotted in Lake Mead.
Well, this is a flip-flop. It may not look a whole lot. You can see a strap there, the overall foot shape. This is what those mussels do.
The mussels latch onto the Glen Canyon Dam and can cut off water flow. They strip paint off boats and cause even more damage.
They're in the dam where they can cut off the flow of water. And so for water users, electricity users, it becomes a cost to the taxpayer.
The park officials inspect every boat going in and out of the lake. Boaters who do not comply can receive a fine as high as $5,000.
Please, when you're leaving Lake Powell and or any body of water, remember to clean your boat.
Experts say keeping the quagga mussels in Lake Powell is the only option to contain the threat.
We got to quit moving water. You got to wash and drain your boat every time. Just as simple as that.
At Lake Powell, Erika Arrington, Cronkite News.
Arizona Senator John McCain and President Donald Trump have been at odds for years, but the war of words reached new heights today. Cronkite News reporter Bailey Vogt has the details from our Washington bureau.
Senator John McCain has angered President Trump at least twice this summer with votes against a repeal of Obamacare, but his speech yesterday may have been the last straw for the president.
people have to be careful because at some point I fight back. Yeah. You know, I'm being very nice. I'm being very, very nice. But at some point I fight back, and it won't be pretty.
These tough words came in response to McCain's speech in Philadelphia, where he was awarded the 2017 Liberty Medal by the National Constitution Center.
To refuse the obligations of international leadership and our duty to remain the last best hope of Earth for the sake of some half-baked, spurious nationalism cooked up by people who would rather find scapegoats than solve problems.
The speech did not mention Trump by name, but it was clearly bothering the president when he was asked about it in a radio interview today. McCain said in a separate interview that what he was referring to was the general attitude in Washington.
I think that what is clear is what I was talking about as an environment here of non-productivity, of a reversion to the attitude of the 30s, which was one of the major reasons why we fought World War II.
The nationalism line was part of a much larger speech in which McCain called for America to resume its leadership role in the world.
We live in a land made of ideals, not blood and soil. We are the custodians of those ideals at home and their champion abroad.
It expanded on a call McCain had been making since he was diagnosed with a life-threatening brain cancer this summer, a call for more cooperation in Washington. Former Vice President Joe Biden, who presented the Liberty Medal to McCain, said the call was not surprising to people who know the senator.
You took to the Senate floor to remind us all of us, who would choose to hold office, Democrats and Republicans alike, what our responsibility is, first to the nation. Responsibility that extends beyond ourselves, our parties.
One of those people is Bruce Reinhardt, a high school classmate of McCain's, who said it was clear, even at a young age, that McCain would march to his own drummer.
He tested the system many times, and you test the upperclassmen in a small private school. You know, you gotta have guts.
In Washington, Bailey Vogt, Cronkite News.
The Liberty Medal is awarded annually to those who have strived to secure the blessings of liberty to people the world over. McCain joins a varied list of recipients that ranges from former presidents to retired Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor to boxer Muhammad Ali. Today, Phoenix police officers participated in International Walk to School Day by escorting local kids to school. Erika Arrington shows us why this event is about more than transportation.
I had so much fun at Walk to School Day last year that I decided to come back one more time. Are you ready to walk to school?
International Walk to School Day promotes ditching the car or bus and getting to school on foot.
We want our kids to know that they have a safe alternative to get to school, and that's the walking to school. We teach them how to cross streets, how to look both ways.
Phoenix police officers watched over the almost 2,000 walkers in attendance.
The police are a very integral part of what we do. When we have crowd control issues, you know, they're certainly the ones that control the crowds.
But they're not only there to control the crowds. The officers are in squad cars and on bikes as they interact with members of the community.
A lot of kids are afraid of the police, and we like to get out there on foot, out of our cars, on bikes, participate in these events, show off our gear, show them that they don't have to be afraid of the police.
Kevin Crespin, a third grader at Justin Spatani Elementary School, liked having the police there.
I saw some guns and pepper spray and a taser, and it looks really cool.
It's real difficult right now in these day and age to be a police officer because there's so much negativity. These kids love us. You watch, you bring out the bike, they want a sticker, they want to give you a high five or a fist bump. That's what we're looking for.
Sergeant James Spross says the kids' enthusiasm towards the police can trickle down to the adults in their lives, even further repairing their relationship with the community. In Phoenix, Erika Arrington, Cronkite News.
Walk planner Don Cross says there'll be more events in the coming weeks.
While Arizona ranks 5th worst in the nation for youth homelessness, programs like Youth on Their Own are helping students in Arizona in more ways than one.
Reporter Drew Marine takes us to Tucson, where the home office serves as a safe space for these children who may not always have a place to call home.
Youth on Their Own says they have served more than 1,000 of the almost 6,000 homeless and runaway youths in Pima County and Tucson, and students in the program are grateful.
In my case, it was like my mom passed away when I was 4, and then my dad, it affected him, so he couldn't be in the picture anymore when I was 7.
Kennedy may not have a traditional family life.
So it was just me and my grandma since I was 4. That was like my story.
The 18-year-old was able to break the cycle of poverty with the help from Youth on Their Own, where high school and college students get access to 10 pounds of food a week. Thanks to an on-site mini mall complete with canned food, cereal, clothes, and personal items like toothbrushes and tampons, Serena La Madrid was able to support 3 siblings.
A 5-year-old, a little baby. It was either I was tucking her into sleep or waking her up for school, and that was it. I didn't spend time with her as much.
They really feel like they finally have a person who's in their corner, who actually cares whether or not they go to school or cares whether or not they do well. And that is really kind of a honor.
A nonprofit, Youth on Their Own, has helped many students and has given almost $700,000 in stipends in exchange for good grades and attendance.
125, if I'm correct. And so you would get more money, well, up to that limit if you had like higher grades, like A's and B's and stuff like that. And then it would reduce, you know, if you were just slacking off.
Which allows students like Kennedy to focus less on making ends meet and more on her musical studies.
Asking for help, it's okay. I wish someone would have told me, like, it's okay to ask for help.
For the next steps in her life, Kennedy is expected to graduate from the University of Arizona in 2021. If you or someone you know may benefit from this program's help, there's more information at yoto.org. In the Media Center, Drew Marine, Cronkite News.
A few weeks after the Vegas shooting, one Phoenix woman is working to spread love to first responders with handwritten notes. As reporter Monica Sampson shows us, a chance meeting made those notes grow from hundreds to thousands in a matter of days.
On the campus of Centennial High School, one student has encouraged her classmates to write thousands of letters to Las Vegas first responders. It all started with a chance meeting with initiative founder Natalie Riley.
I was at a local Starbucks writing thank you notes, love notes. Lo and behold, sitting next to me is Chelsea, and we just got to talking, and we asked her if she would like to write a thank you note because we were thinking about traveling up to Las Vegas and take some of these notes for the first responders up there.
Chelsea Opat took 100 cards from Riley. The next day, she took them to her school, and 100 letters turned into more than 500 in 24 hours.
It's amazing to know that it spread like that there's a lot of love in this world, that not everyone has an ego that'll stop them from writing a little thank you note, because I know for some high schoolers, they don't want to do that. They think it's childish, but it means a lot, and it's just amazing that they have such a heart for it, and it makes me feel very happy that they do it.
Chelsea says letters like this only take about a minute to write, but it's in that minute that they can make all the impact.
I've noticed that a lot of students are feeling very grateful, as well as they wish they could have done so much more for the tragedy in Las Vegas, but these notes have led them to being able to actually do something, to take action. As a student, you can't do much. You can't just drive up to Las Vegas when you have school, when you have work. So these notes are simple, they take less than a minute, and they just mean a whole world to them and the officers receiving them.
In Peoria, Monica Sampson, Cronkite News.
With so much controversy surrounding former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio's pardon, many are wondering how the current sheriff plans to move forward. As Cronkite News reporter Bridget Dow tells us, Sheriff Paul Penzone plans to take a very different approach.
After former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio's criminal contempt of court case was dismissed, current Sheriff Paul Penzone says he's disappointed.
He was, given the freedom without any accountability, whereas we are and will continue to be accountable because that's the right thing to do. So as the sheriff, when I look at that and I say we should all be treated equally under the law, there's a circumstance where many could argue that wasn't the case.
Penzone says part of the reason he wanted to run for sheriff was because he was unhappy with what he saw Arpaio doing. He wants to reassure people that racial profiling and discrimination by officers will not be tolerated.
We will not be engaged in immigration enforcement. Not only is it prohibited by the court orders, but it's not our primary responsibility. It's not our job. We have to enforce the laws in the state to keep everyone safe, regardless of who you are, where you come from. No different than our uniform, the color of it, or who we are, where we came from should not be a factor. It should be about enforcing the laws, being constitutional, being law-abiding before you are law enforcing, and to be an extension of the community at large.
Penzone's office is still embroiled in the 2013 racial profiling court case in which deputies were found to be targeting Latinos in traffic stops.
I think that the actions were in response to practices by my predecessor that were unethical and unlawful. We're doing everything within our powers to collaborate with the ACLU and the DOJ and the courts. We are law-abiding, and we are dedicated to owning this responsibility and overcoming it.
Penzone says the employees MCSO hires should be just as diverse as the citizens they serve.
We're just looking on a broader scale to be more strategic in our effort to reach out to communities that maybe in the past have been neglected. We haven't paid enough attention, that there are talented people who have an interest in becoming detention officers or deputies. There's a career for everyone, whether it is, you're a CPA, whether you want to work as a dispatch, or whether you want to work in some form of administration. There's plenty of opportunity, but this organization has to reflect the community we serve. So we have to do a better job of recruiting across the board to everyone and to find talent in every community.
Penzone also says he believes there's a major divide right now between law enforcement officers and the community they serve, and the first step?
We have to be engaged, we have to be patient and listen to learn, and we also have to find ways to educate our community on the challenges we face, not only crimes that could affect them, but as law enforcement professionals, the challenges that we face so that we can be better at our job, because it has to be a shared relationship.
In Phoenix, Bridget Dowd, Cronkite News.
The Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos isn't until November 1st, but that's not stopping some from starting early.
For the Phoenix Fridas, a Latina women's art collective. They're ready for the holiday. As Fortessa Latifi reports, the group hosted a themed craft night at a local bookstore.
Dia de los Muertos translates to Day of the Dead, but Phoenix Frida's founder, Kathy Cano Murillo, says the holiday is about more than mourning.
And it's a way of embracing and accepting death as part of the journey and not fearing it, and knowing that it's all part of the celebration of life.
Participants decorated candles, sewed felt skulls, and made mini shrines for loved ones they wanted to honor. Some took part in the Day of the Dead tradition of face painting. Kendall Gum had her face painted to honor her father, grandfather, and uncle.
I wanted to represent everybody I know who's moved on and is moving on with their journey.
The Phoenix Fridas are named after the famous Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. Monique Sanderson Mata relates to Frida Kahlo's use of art as a coping mechanism.
But I know what it's like to have that struggle, to have to depend on people and to feel helpless. And art is the only thing that got me through that.
Attendees worked side by side, drinking wine and crafting traditional Day of the Dead art.
I'm crafting and drinking. So we just got done making candles, or decorating candles, so I'm on to the next table. We're having a blast.
Sugar skulls are a staple of Day of the Dead celebrations. Cano Murillo explains the symbolism behind them.
Where the sugar represents the sweetness of life, the skull represents that their body's not here, they're gone.
Some attendees took time to add something personal to the shrine the Fridas set up. Cano Murillo says the Day of the Dead is about finding meaning in loss.
This is about me feeling blessed that I had this person in my life. I had these life lessons to learn from them, and I want to celebrate that on this day. And the idea that their spirit returns for that one time, oh, that's so beautiful.
In Phoenix, Fortessa Latifi, Cronkite News.
Now, here's an @Cronkite News Pick of the Week, a favorite from the Cronkite News staff.
It's sometimes a struggle to connect today's youth with older veterans.
But one Arizonan has found a way through crocheting for a cause. Sydney Eisenberg reports.
According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, as of January 2016, there were more than 1,000 veterans who were homeless or living in temporary housing in Arizona. In Anthem, 2 groups are using plastic bags to help those homeless veterans feel a little more comfortable.
These plastic bags are seeing new life thanks to the Daisy Mountain Veterans and Youth for Troops.
We make plastic sleeping mats for the homeless veterans out of recycled plastic bags from Walmart, the grocery stores. It keeps you warm in the winter months and it keeps you off the cold and the wet in the summer.
Volunteers gathered at the Anthem Civic Building to sort, cut, and loop plastic into long chains that would be crocheted into mats.
It's not very hard once you get used to it.
Austin Friedman was able to pick up crocheting after just a few minutes. He was even able to give me a lesson.
And then you pull the 2 loops over, and you just made another piece of the long chain there is.
Not only do these plastic mats help homeless veterans, they also connect veterans to a younger generation.
Derry Berry herself is a Marine veteran from the Vietnam era. She says her favorite part is teaching kids how to help her friends who also served.
One of the young girls I was showing how to crochet, she said, "Isn't there a right way or a wrong way?" I said, "No, this is all made with love. There's no right way or wrong way."
I feel proud because they deserve to get back on their feet again for helping us, so we should help them.
Now these groups plan to distribute 50 mats to different shelters and organizations. In the broadcast center, Sydney Eisenberg, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News tracks your likes, tweets, and shares from all our social sites to bring you this special at Cronkite News, our weekly refresh. Join the conversation so you choose the news. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org for top Arizona stories anytime.